Did I scare you? Hope I did. Because it's Halloween. Happy Halloween. Welcome to another episode of tonight's double feature. Happy spooky time. Happy scary season. Hope you're doing well. I do not have a beverage with me today, but I do have this Kit Kat Witch's Brew candy bar. And in between movies, we're going to crack this open and review it. So stay tuned for that. A little something special for this episode. Witchy Women is the theme this evening. And obviously, Halloween time is, you might even say, the season of the witch. We'll get to that momentarily. But movie number one on this episode of tonight's double feature is Blair Witch. Now, if you're not super familiar with the Blair Witch, you might think, oh, well, everybody knows about this movie. This is actually not the original film, The Blair Witch Project. This is, in fact, the 2016 Blair Witch, which is a direct sequel to the original film, even though this is part 3 in the franchise. So it's a little bit complicated, but let's get into it. This film, like I said, came out in 2016. It was directed by Adam Wingard, who has been picking up some steam lately, gaining some attention. He did Godzilla vs. Kong recently. And I'm a very big fan of this film. It is found footage. It kind of goes back to the roots of the original Blair Witch Project. But, you know, the technology has come a long way since the original film. And so in this one, it's kind of reflective of that. There's drones in it, and there's little iCam pieces. And, you know, it's in HD or probably 4K. So it just looks a lot nicer and a lot cleaner than the original Blair Witch Project, which obviously has its charms in terms of the look and the aesthetic. That's a large reason of why it was so successful. I find this one to be more enjoyable to watch, partially because it's not so, you know, quite all over the place. It's very slickly produced. That might turn some people off. I enjoy it. This film, I think some people, when this film came out, kind of assumed that it was a reboot. It is not. It is a direct sequel to the 1999 film because it follows the brother of the main character from the first film, who is looking for his sister in the Black Hills. So, you know, it very much fits in with the established mythology of the first film. And I think all of the actors in this do a fine job. I think the story is well done. Like I said, I think the look of it is really nice. It's certainly, you know, they're not reinventing the wheel in terms of found footage or anything like that. They're kind of going back to the roots a little bit, but it's nice. And as you can see, I got this nice slip cover, and then it's the same right there. We got some special features on the back, and I wanted to mention that because if you are like me and you are a fan of special features, this particular Blu-ray is absolutely packed with all sorts of interesting stuff in terms of the way that they made the movie, the sound design of the movie. There's some really, really cool special features on this Blu-ray. So I would highly recommend picking this one up. And it's got audio commentary with Adam Wingard and writer Simon Barrett, who I've been interacting with just a little bit on Twitter lately. He seems like a nice guy. Something called Never Ending Night, The Making of Blair Witch, a 6-part documentary. And that's a lot of what I just mentioned, the sort of all of the, you know, behind the scenes stuff is right there. And then House of Horrors exploring the set, which is also really impressive. It seems like they're out in the middle of the woods, which they are for a lot of it. But then, I don't want to get too far into spoilers, but basically they built this set, and I was pretty blown away because I didn't know that it was a set. I mean, I knew that it was constructed, but I thought that they probably built it out in the woods somewhere, and it turns out that they were in, like on a sound stage for part of this. So like I said, very slickly made. There's so many aspects to this film that I really enjoy. Yeah, Blair Witch. The marketing for this was cool too, because they were calling it The Woods at first. And then people, when the movie first premiered, a lot of this is on the Blu-ray as well. When the movie first premiered, people didn't even know that they were going to be seeing a Blair Witch movie. They premiered it at like a Comic-Con or something like that. And obviously, Blair Witch and interesting marketing strategies go hand in hand, because that's a large part of what made the first film such a big phenomenon, was the way that they marketed it. So I appreciate the fact that they tried to do something different with the marketing of this particular film, even though it probably wasn't nearly as successful as the first one, because I mean, the first one was shot for like $20 and made like $250 million or something. But I would recommend checking this one out if you're into found footage, or if you've seen the first Blair Witch and haven't seen the second, this one. I would recommend checking it out. Also, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2 might be worth a watch. The season finale of B-Movie Mania is coming out, as the time of this recording, is coming out next week. And we're going to be putting Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2 on trial. So go to bmoviemania.com and check that one out. Let's review this Kit Kat Witch's Brew. I don't know. Crisp wafers. Oh, in marshmallow. I'm usually not big on marshmallows, but we'll see what happens. If I seem a little amped up today, it's because I drank a coffee, and I apologize. I'm just excited about Halloween, So it has this sort of like green, almost glow-in-the-dark tint to it. Break me off a piece. Kind of a, almost like if you've ever had a birthday cake Oreo, almost has that sort of a flavor to it. Not bad. Okay, moving along. Movie number 2. And I admit that part of the reason I chose this film for movie number 2 was so that I could show off my pretty freaking awesome Between Night and Dawn box set from Arrow Films. Arrow Video, excuse me. As you can see, we have the one, the only George A. Romero, an illustration of him on the front here for this box set. But the movie that we are going to be doing for movie number 2 is, because there's 3 films in here, I guess I'll just go ahead and show all of them, why not? You got, oh, upside down, apologies. You got The Crazies up top, you got There's Always Vanilla down below, and you have Season of the Witch in the middle. Can you guess which one we're doing? This box set is the movies that George did in between Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. And we are, of course, going to be taking a look at Season of the Witch, aka Jack's Wife, aka Hungry Wives, depending on which movie theater you saw this in. in the early 70s. But Season of the Witch is, probably one of George Romero's lesser known films in terms of, obviously, he's very well known for all of his zombie movies, Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead in particular. But this is a really interesting little movie that he did earlier on in his career. Not necessarily a horror movie, although there are some occult elements to it. So it's sort of, has some spooky elements, you might say, to it. But this movie is all about a wife who is, let me see if I can, Joan is her name. And Joan is a kind of a housewife who is kind of bored, a little bit bored with her life, not too much going on, not a super happy marriage, doesn't have a whole lot of excitement in her life, until she meets a witch and sort of becomes fascinated with some elements of the occult and witchcraft. And she goes down an interesting path that, again, I won't spoil anything for you, but it doesn't turn out great. But this is a really interesting movie. George Romero, he was very successful for his horror movies, but I think that he didn't really want to get pigeonholed into only doing horror movies. I mean, there even, one of the other movies in this collection right here, There's Always Vanilla, which is the first film that he did after Night of the Living Dead, was, like a romantic drama, kind of. So he wanted to experiment, he wanted to play with other genres and other things other than horror. But like I said, there are some not quite horror elements to this, but the occult and things like that. But it's mostly sort of a character study and kind of a drama and a look at, just sort of a regular suburban mom. Romero himself has called this a feminist film. And it very much is. And in that sense, one of the things that I think is most interesting about this movie is that it was kind of ahead of its time. There's some ideas and there's some themes in this film that would probably still be pretty relevant today. So I definitely think that it's worth a watch if you're a Romero fan, if you're a fan of some of his other more well-known movies, but you haven't seen this one. I would say it's definitely worth a watch. Not perfect by any means. I kind of thought that it was a little too long, but definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it. I just wanted to make sure that the disc wasn't flopping around in here, but there's two discs. There's the Blu-ray and the DVD right there. And I feel that this is very appropriate for this episode of tonight's double feature because, as you can see on the cover there, it says Every Night is Halloween, Season of the Witch. There's also a great, almost music video in the middle of this movie because Donovan, the musician, had a song called Season of the Witch. And I'm assuming that they retitled the film Season of the Witch to go along with the song that plays in the movie. And it almost plays out as like this montage music video. And it's one of the best parts of the film. Per usual with Arrow, there's lots of special features on this. I'm not going to go through all of them right now, but some new audio commentary. This is interesting. When Romero met Del Toro, filmmaker Guillermo del Toro in conversation with George Romero. The Secret Life of Jack's Wife, an interview with Jan White, who's the star of the film, location gallery, memorabilia gallery, trailers. There's a lot of really great stuff on here. Arrow always puts out interesting stuff. So again, I would definitely recommend checking this one out. And there you go. My 2 picks for Witchy Women Night for tonight's double feature. Get a thumbnail going here. I hope you're going to have, you know, a good Halloween. I hope, I don't know if you're dressing up or anything like that because of COVID times, but one way or another, I hope you have a good one. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. Right there.